Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into some real-life superpowers from the animal kingdom. Abilities so incredible they seem like they're straight out of a comic book. So, let's just start with a simple question. You think stuff like super strength or immortality is just fantasy? Well, what if I told you nature already figured it out? I mean, get this. Nature has a creature that can literally just reverse its aging process to dodge death when it gets old or injured. And then there's another one, so tough it can survive the vacuum and deadly radiation of outer space. Yeah, completely unprotected. And how about this one? An animal that punches so fast it actually boils the water around its fist, creating a shockwave that hits like a bullet. No joke. All right, so first up, let's talk about the masters of hiding in plain sight. For these animals, deception isn't just a party trick. It's literally how they stay alive. So you've got your classic examples, right? Like the chameleon. We all know it changes color, but what's really cool is that it's not just for hiding. It uses color to talk to other chameleons or even just to warm up. But then you have the octopus, and that is a whole other level. What makes the octopus so incredible is its brain power, which is totally wild. It's got 3 hearts and 9 brains, 1 central brain, and then a little mini brain in each of its 8 arms. This setup lets it instantly change not just its color and pattern, but even the texture of its skin to blend in perfectly. And some, like the famous mimic octopus, can actually pretend to be other animals, like a venomous lionfish, to scare predators away. It's just genius. And this is a fantastic example of a different kind of deception, mimicry. See the false coral snake? Totally harmless, no venom. But it doesn't need any. It just has to look like its super venomous cousin, the real coral snake. That bright color pattern is like a universal stay away sign, and it's a brilliant evolutionary shortcut to survival. Okay, so from hiding, let's move on to straight up defense. We're talking about animals that have turned their bodies into actual fortresses or, well, chemical weapons. And the ways they do it are just mind-blowing. You have the Sunda pangolin, covered in these tough keratin scales, same stuff as your fingernails, and it just rolls up into an armored ball. Then there's the porcupine fish, which gulps down water and puffs up into a spiky basketball. But the wood frog? This might be the craziest one. It survives winter by letting most of its body freeze solid, thanks to a natural antifreeze in its cells. I mean, each one is a completely different answer to the same question: how do you not get eaten? So the bombardier beetle, this little guy is a chemical weapons expert. Here's how it works. It has these 2 chemicals stored separately inside its body. When it gets scared, it mixes them together in this special reinforced chamber. The reaction is so intense, it heats the liquid up to boiling. And then it just aims and shoots this boiling, corrosive spray right at whatever's bothering it. And that brings us to maybe the toughest animal on the entire planet, the tardigrade, also known as the water bear. This tiny little creature can survive, well, pretty much anything. The vacuum of space, deadly radiation, insane temperatures. It does this by going into a state of suspended animation called cryptobiosis. It basically just shuts everything down until things get better. It's the ultimate survival mode. All right, so we've seen deception and defense. Now, let's talk about pure physical power. We're talking speed, strength, and abilities that honestly feel like they break the laws of physics. When you think of strength, you probably think of an elephant or a gorilla, right? Well, forget them. Pound for pound, the strongest animal on Earth is the dung beetle. This thing can pull over 1,100 times its own body weight. To put that into perspective, that would be like a single person pulling the entire space shuttle. Just think about that for a second. And for speed, nothing, and I mean nothing, beats the peregrine falcon. When it goes into its hunting dive, they call it a stoop, it can hit speeds of 242 miles per hour. It literally becomes a living missile. In the water, you've got the black marlin, basically a torpedo hitting 80 miles per hour. And on land, even a coyote can clock in at a speedy 40. Okay, this next one is literally one of nature's most shocking abilities. This is the pistol shrimp. It has 1 giant claw, and it snaps it shut so fast, over 60 miles an hour, that it creates a tiny, high-speed jet of water. That jet creates a bubble of empty space. It's called a cavitation bubble. Now, here's the crazy part. The shrimp doesn't actually hit its prey with its claw. It hits it with the shock wave from that bubble collapsing. And when I say violent, I mean it. The collapse of that tiny bubble creates a flash of heat that reaches 4,800 degrees Celsius. Let me say that again, 4,800 degrees. That is almost as hot as the surface of the sun. The shockwave from that tiny pop is enough to stun or even kill a fish several feet away. It's a sonic weapon. So for our last category, we're getting to what might be the most incredible power of all, the ability to actually cheat death. We're talking about regeneration and even biological immortality. Okay, so lots of animals can regenerate, but they don't all do it the same way. You've got the planarian worm, which uses powerful stem cells. You can chop its head off and it'll just grow a new one. Then you have animals like the axolotl and the starfish. They use a process where their normal cells can basically turn back the clock, becoming like stem cells again to rebuild whatever's missing. You can literally grow a whole new starfish from a single arm. But the axolotl, it's really the MVP of regeneration among animals with a backbone. It can regrow whole legs, its spinal cord, even parts of its heart and brain. And it does it all perfectly, with no scars. It's no wonder scientists are so obsessed with figuring out how they do it. But if you think that's cool, listen to this. The immortal jellyfish takes it to the absolute limit. When this jellyfish gets old, or sick, or stressed out, it doesn't die. No, it just sinks to the bottom of the ocean, turns back into its baby form, a little polyp, and starts its entire life cycle over again. It's biologically immortal. It can just keep hitting the reset button. So after all of that, the camouflage, the armor, the insane strength, the immortality, what's the real superpower here? What's the one thing they all have in common? Because the truth is, none of this is magic. The real power behind the beetle's cannon and the jellyfish's immortality is evolution. It's adaptation. Every single one of these incredible abilities is just a solution, perfected over millions and millions of years to the simple problem of staying alive. So it really makes you think, right, with all these incredible options on the table, from regenerating your body to surviving in outer space, if you could have just one of these animal superpowers for yourself, what would you choose and why?